Good afternoon, everyone. Virgo here. It is July 23rd, 2019. All right, so this is basically a podcast of sorts that I'm doing here. I found a very interesting article that popped up for me this morning in my subscription to the New York Times, and I want to go ahead and read it. I think it's something that we need to pay attention to. Because of the fact that the web is filled, particularly YouTube and Facebook, are filled with conspiracy theories. And this is something that we deal with on this channel on a regular basis in terms of how it affects ideologies and this sort of thing. I want to go ahead and make sure that everyone is actually aware of this article. I will link it or pin it to the top of the comment section for you to take a look at yourself if you would like. But this is basically just going to be me reading this article. I think you will find it interesting. It shows very bluntly what the dangers of a conspiracy can turn into. The heading is, "He wasn't seeking to kill a mob boss. He was trying to help Trump," his lawyer says. In new court documents, the lawyer for Anthony Comello says he became obsessed by far-right QAnon conspiracy theories. As his pickup truck roared toward the Todd Hill section of Staten Island, Anthony Comello had no intention of killing a mob boss. He wanted only to arrest him, his lawyer said in new court documents. The details of what happened next are as follows. Mr. Comello, 24, arrived at the home of Francisco, or Frankie Boy, as he was called, Cali, a leader in the Gambino crime family, and lured him outside. The men spoke briefly, then prosecutors say Mr. Comello pulled a gun from his car and shot Mr. Cali, leaving him to die in the street. Mr. Comello, an aimless young man who lived with his parents on Staten Island, was arrested 3 days later and charged with murder. But court documents filed on Friday offered a glimpse into the deeply troubled mind of Mr. Comello, who, his defense lawyer says, was so deluded by the internet conspiracy theories that he was determined to conduct a citizen's arrest of Mr. Cali and turn the mafia leader over to the military. He believed that Francisco Cali, a boss of the Gambino crime family, was a prominent member of the deep state and, accordingly, an appropriate target for a citizen's arrest, wrote Mr. Comello's lawyer, Robert C. Gottlieb. I think that's right, but you know I mispronunciation, girl. At times, the circumstances of Mr. Cali's demise have seemed so outlandish, and they appeared specially designed for these viral times. But a clearer picture is emerging of how the tale's pieces fall together. A mob boss, a drifter from Staten Island, and a far-right conspiracy theory may fit all together. Mr. Cali's murder was the highest-profile mob killing in decades, an event so significant that in the days between Mr. Cali's death and Mr. Comello's arrest, speculation was surging that a new war was brewing among New York's 5 mafia families. The reality, according to his lawyer, appears to be even more bizarre. Mr. Comello had become convinced that Mr. Cali was part of the so-called deep state, a cabal of criminals that conspiracy theorists claim control the United States government. Mr. Comello also believed he was a chosen vigilante of President Trump's. Mr. Comello became certain that he was enjoying the protection of President Trump himself and that he had the president's full support, his lawyer wrote. That delusion will be part of a package of evidence that his lawyer says he plans to submit to the court that prove that Mr. Comello is not guilty by reason of mental deficit. The lawyer is seeking to have the court place Mr. Comello in psychiatric treatment rather than prosecute him on murder charges. Mr. Comello is being held in protective custody as he awaits his trial. Prosecutors in the Staten Island District Attorney's Office declined to comment. Mr. Comello took handcuffs with him to Todd Hill on March 13th, his lawyer says, but his plan was foiled when Mr. Calley refused to submit to a citizen's arrest. Instead, the Gambino leader reached towards his waistband. Fearing for his life, Mr. Comello shot Mr. Calley 10 times and fled. QAnon, a baseless conspiracy theory that originated on internet message boards, played a key role in Mr. Comello's descent into mental instability, his lawyer said. It claims, among other things, that America is controlled by a quote-unquote deep state, that prominent Democratic politicians are considered pedophiles, and that John F. Kennedy Jr., who died in a 1999 plane crash, is secretly alive and will be running for the presidency in 2020. At Mr. Comello's first court appearance in March, he displayed symbols and phrases that are associated with the QAnon scrawled on his hand in pen. He first began to take an interest in the political conspiracy theories in the weeks after Mr. Trump's 2016 election. Mr. Comello's support for QAnon went beyond mere participation in a radical political organization. It evolved into a delusional obsession. Driven by that obsession, his lawyer said Mr. Comello began early this year to attempt citizens' arrests of people he believed to be associated with the deep state. In February, Mr. Comello twice tried to conduct his own arrest of Mayor Bill de Blasio, including one instance in which he showed up at Gracie Mansion, the mayor's home in Manhattan. Not long after that incident, Mr. Comello sought the help of United States Marshals at Federal District Court in Manhattan and asked that they help him to arrest 2 California Democrats, Representatives Maxine Waters and Adam Schiff, both of whom he believed were in the vicinity. He was rebuffed. Both incidents were confirmed by law enforcement officials. He was also posting and sharing conspiracy theories online and that are associated with the far right, and was engaging with other QAnon believers on the internet, according to social media accounts that are linked to Mr. Comello from around the same time. Mr. Gottlieb identified one of Mr. Comello's accounts, Real America's Voice, on Instagram in his filing. The page has dozens of memes and written screeds, some that are difficult to decipher, including several posts posted days before Mr. Calley's death. One post accuses Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, of being a fascist. Patriot sleeper cells are awake, he wrote. In another, he refers to Bill and Hillary Clinton as the Clinton crime family. How Mr. Comello came to associate Mr. Calley or the Gambino crime family with such theories remains unclear. Typically, the conspiracy group targets Democratic political figures, not the mafia. But his attorney said he believed Mr. Comello had encountered posts online that suggested mafia figures like Mr. Calley were also connected to the deep state. His attorney said on Saturday that he was sifting through thousands and thousands of messages, posts, and forums that he said Mr. Comello might have engaged with. The defense lawyer is also asking a judge to order prosecutors to provide details about anything found in Mr. Calley's home or car when they were searched after the shooting, including whether any weapons were found on or near Mr. Calley's body. I will keep you guys updated on anything that comes in pertaining to this story, and I will link this in the description, or rather, I will probably pin it to the top of the comment section. You guys seem to like that better. I want to let you know that the last video that I put up on the Pitts docket was demonetized immediately because the name Gail and Pitts were mentioned in the title. So for those of you that would like to assist in all of the videos that are being demonetized because of the conversations or the discussions and the videos that I put out, letting you guys know what's going on with these cases, and letting you guys know what's happening with the fringe groups. If you'd like to assist, you can go ahead and visit www.patreon.com/VirgoTriad1. For as little as $1 a month, I will be providing you with one mini dot per month that only you guys will be seeing, and it will help me out a lot because the majority of the monetization that used to be on my channel is now starting to disappear with almost every single video, probably this one too, because they have an algorithm that's demonetizing anything that has anything to do with extreme stuff at all.